chance for the bing, boom, bop, whatever noise I see come out of this. So, I'm gonna give like a little bit of time for people to come hither. This very mind-boggling, simple technique that I've kind of, well, it's not really, I didn't really discover it, but it's just something that pretty much, it's extremely simple, like to the point where it's, best way I can describe it is pretty much making something idiot proof. Like to the point where it's so simple that you can't combat it, if that makes sense. So I'm just gonna give it some time to let the awareness go out and be like, oh, the dick lickers live. So what? Go ahead and be like, oh, that's offensive. Well, I'm not lying. So, essentially, what the, well, I call the art of bamboozling, and it's very fitting for it. Pretty much what it is, you're in the alchemical procedure, but mainly in the mental, magical, and spiritual and emotional alchemy, to take something that's in one state and then transforming it into something else. Good example is like how with regular, well, not really regular, like how the belief was like making lead into gold, kind of like that. It's going from point A to point B by doing something to A to make B become about from A. Hello, Elizabeth. You're gonna enjoy this one. I just know it. The magical art of bamboozling. This is probably, like I've said, it's so simple. It's so easy. It's so like, oh, well, he's got a point. And it's to an extent where it's very near impossible to combat this because it takes it down to the most simplistic level to the point where there's no going lower than that. And if you know how the alchemical process works from like influencing something with the elements, it's using that same procedure, but we're not throwing anything at anything. We're just using our logical mind. And then from there, we can actually logically be like, wait a minute, this doesn't make sense. Why is this going to try and do anything to me? Nah. But I guess we'll just start right now. So, essentially, mental alchemy and actually using logics when doing spell work, magic work, any kind of occult means, even when also trying to be logical and realistic. And also, this is the same thing that could be done when somebody's in a court of law and trying to like prove a way to kind of like take advantage, well, not to kind of find like a loophole in the law, so it's like a technicality, they get off the hook. It's kind of like that. But the thing is, man law is flawed, and the alchemical mindset and practice is not flawed. They're identical, but one is flawed and the other isn't. So, at the very core of it all, I guess we'll just start with the very most simple questions. And if you're watching the replay, you get to answer all these questions too, but you don't have me holding your hand through this. We're going to keep it at the very most easiest level. We're going to start at point A. And I'm being serious when I ask these questions. Question number 1. Whose body are you in right now? Got your answer? Okay. Second question. The thoughts that are in your head and what you're thinking about. Who are these? Who do they belong to? Question number 3. Whose nose are you smelling through? And I'm being dead serious. And you're probably thinking, what the heck, Brendan? What the heck, kid? I thought you were going to teach me how to bamboozle, not, play, ask stupid questions and think you're smart, but you're stupid. No. There's a reason why. Okay. Whose eyes are you seeing through right now? Got the answer? Whose life are you living right now? Probably getting annoyed by this, aren't you? I know, but just stick with it, trust me. And you have the answer? Good. So if this is the Anyway, but now I'm going from like, okay, I'm seeing through. Okay, if your I'm gonna see this thing just threw me off, Kidder. But if your answer so far has been me, mine, or anything pertaining to you, you're on the right track. Perfect. So then the next question is, who gets to make the choices for you? Who's the one making your choices? I'll give you a hint. It's the same answer. If it's the same answer so far, you're doing good. If there's a different answer, make sure you keep it the same one. Next question. Who decides what you do? I'm dead serious. And yes, you guessed it. It's the same answer since, the first one. And last but not least, who has the final say in everything that happens to you? I'll say it one more time. Who has the final say and makes the final call regarding something in your life? Who has the final say? I'm being dead serious. You're probably wondering what the heck, kid. I think you're trying to be stupid. Don't just trust me. So the little rabbit hole that I put you all through right now, you're probably wanting to throw a spear at me. Congratulations, you have pretty much gone from like a point of to now the simplest point of realizing, wait a minute, I'm the one that's in control of my life. I'm the one that decides what happened. This is the this is the kind of way of becoming self-aware and realizing, oh, I'm the one holding the strings. I'm the one that can decide what happens, not anything else around me. I have the full power, nothing else. Now, with that in mind, this is where we're going to go a little bit silly with it. Okay, now that we know that you're in control of you, you have the final call of what happens. You decide how your life plays out. You decide how you're going to go about something. You decide how the magic affects you, or any kind of magic being put at you, how it affects you. Because now I only see there's only really two like universal laws that are like near not impossible to avoid. The first one is, I like to call it the natural law of consequence. Now, before you think consequence, that sounds like it's going to be bad. No, you're just looking at the negative connotation. Consequence is defined as an event that follows up after somebody's taken an action. And not even God's free of the law of consequence, because everybody does something, and then something that follows afterwards, after their movement or choice, that is a consequence. Not a consequence like being, hung by your toesies and then, being whipped by your classmates. No, that's not a consequence. But essentially, no matter what somebody does, there's always a consequence. So everything that takes action, there is always going to be an event that follows up to it. Even if nothing happens, that's an event. Now we're going to be scooting on to the other one. If you can acknowledge it, if you can address it, if you can make it known, or if you can speak to or address it or influence it, you can target it. If you can target something, you can affect it. Will you, though? I don't know. That's not my choice to say. That's yours. And that idea is that anything and everything that exists, if you acknowledge it and you say, okay, that's real. I see like diffuser mist coming out of my essential oil diffuser. That, I guess, diffuser mist thingy, the diffuser smoke. I'm seeing it. I know it exists. I'm acknowledging it. So it exists to me. And then we can just simply go at it in the extreme way. Why does it smell so pretty in here? It smells like flowers, but there's no flowers in here. What's making that smell? I don't know what's making that smell. But you kind of see how we're going through a different state of perception. Now we're not acknowledging it because now we're trying to figure out what the heck's making that smell. It doesn't exist. I don't know where it's coming from. But since we can't, when we're not acknowledging that it's there and existing, we can't target it, if that makes sense. Good. Keep that in mind. So now when we realize, oh, that's what's making the smell of this little rainbow color changing apparatus that's making pretty smelling smoke. So that's what it is. So now that we acknowledge it, now we can target and influence it. Well, it's a machine, so we can't really, really influence it to a full degree, but we can attempt it. So, you're probably thinking, where's the bamboozle part? Okay, here we go, fine. Here's an example. Say, for an example, somebody is trying to throw a curse at you. So now we have a choice to make. We know that somebody threw a curse at us, so right off the bat, we are aware that this curse exists. Okay, perfect. Now we can go at this in one of two ways. The first way, remembering, wait a minute. If somebody's trying to curse me here, go back to the center and realize who's in control, who makes the decisions in your life, who decides if the curse does anything to you, who decides what happens when the curse does hit you. Does the curse hit you and all of a sudden you feel better? I don't know, that's up to you to decide. Because really, if someone is throwing a curse at you, you're going to decide how it affects you by just targeting it and be like, you know what? As much as I was going to believe that was going to give me bad luck, you know what? I'll take it. Here. Oh, wow, my luck just feels so much better. How come I feel more youthful? Thank you, whoever cursed me. I appreciate it. Literally. And all you did was just take something from one state, like a toxic state, and you just went, yeah, let's make it nice. But the biggest component in all this is that you have to have a strong force of will. Like something negative coming towards you, just say, I think that's going to make me feel better instead. And you have to be full 100% believing it, because if you don't believe it, you're bamboozling and be like, oh, that curse isn't going to hurt me. And then, wish you paid attention in your bamboozle class. But unless if you know of a curse's existence or anything like that, if you don't know it exists, you can't target it. So that's another thing too. If you're not aware of it, it really can't affect you because you don't know it exists. If it exists, it can influence you or you can influence it, if that makes sense. And let's see. One of the good things that you can actually do for something like this is say if somebody is going to be doing, if you know somebody that's going to be doing a spell to actually, say they're going to be going for a job or something, what you can actually do is you can actually you can actually kind of blow the doors wide open for them and pretty much influence their working without them knowing it, but influence their working to kind of get a bit of a, let's just say you can influence it to become even more successful. Or if you want to be thinking of I don't know if they're really confident they're working here, let me help them with that. So let's just say Alfredo's love me damn it boss spell. I don't know, I'm trying to come up with something. Because his boss is being a meanie-head. Let's just say he does a friendly, he does that on his boss, but the boss is going to be very hard-headed and kind of a twat-head. So now we already know that the boss that's being influenced is kind of a little difficult to influence. So why don't we consider maybe influencing his working to be able to hit the boss in a way that is unavoidable? By simply saying, that working Alfredo's doing, let's just make it a little bit cutesy. It pretty much is unavoidable and it goes through the hardest of heads. So we've influenced it and targeted, so we bamboozled it out of a small state to kind of a more mountainous, monstrous size, if that makes sense. But Another way that you can actually go about this too, if you want to actually make it even more of a troll move, you have to understand how to use some. Let me grab my notebook. Say, for an example, now there's a lot of common beliefs of like doing excuse me, of like return to sender, or pretty much break a curse or hex, or like super purge something off of you. Well, to me, that's working too hard. Just like in the real world, work smarter, not harder. And sometimes the best thing to do is, if something is coming at you, if it's coming at you this way, sometimes the best thing to do, instead of meeting it head on and trying to stop it, is just let it have it. If it's trying to go this way, let it have it. In other words, say that you're aware that your family has a generational curse. Oh, what are we going to do about this one? Simple. We're going to bamboozle the curse, but we're not going to be really doing anything to it. What we're doing is that we know that the curse exists, and we're going to influence it in a way that doesn't stop it. We're not stopping it, but instead what we're going to do is we're just going to put something on just to only be triggered, like something only become active when the curse is really holding on or starting to do damage to someone. Because curses, hexes, thought forms, whenever they're sent from somebody, they're only programmed to do what they're programmed to do. They're not aware that they're trying to like cause flourishing. They can't comprehend that because they only know how to hurt, hurt, hurt. Just keep hurting. They don't know how to stop, and they can't comprehend that they're actually helping it. So, how do you go about this? It's simple. You make a simple mark. It can be just something as simple as, and this is where you have to bring in your knowledge of chaos magic by making a unique symbol for it. I'm just going to come up with something on the fly. So, in case if you don't know how to make a sigil, I'm going to just show it right quick. So, my intention is curses, bless me instead. That's very simplistic, but say if you actually know the individual or pretty much the generation curse altogether, you would actually just put like either like the curse sent by user or like a hereditary curse. Pretty much as long as you're acknowledging it and you're targeting it and saying about if this is like what it's doing, instead, as long as this mark is on me, it's going to do this instead. It's not stopping it. It's just like flipping it. Kind of like how when you do like a reverse candle working, like return to sender. It's kind of like that, but you're not sending it back. Instead, you're just completely putting it on its head. It's going forward this way, but now it's flipping this way instead. So when you're making a sigil with crystal magic, chaos magic, what you would do is you would get all the vowels out of your life. If you want to cross out Y, okay, but why? Why do you want to cross out Y? It's like, hi, don't unsubscribe, please. Please don't. I know that was a bad joke. So what? Okay, and pretty much what I'm doing is I'm crossing out all the vowels I see and only writing down the consonants. So then pretty much it looks like those are like the letters I'm stuck with. Now, if you want to be fancy, if you want to be extra fancy, which, heck, have at it if you want to be fancy, you can actually also write your intent in 2 languages, or extra fancy in 3 languages. There's no holds bar. And especially if you write in a different language, you're actually kind of adding like a culture in a way. Yeah, cultural influence behind it. Like for an example, I've used Russian in some of my workings and talk about and drinking Red Bull, so what? But talk about having Mother Russia coming in and be like, in Soviet Russia, spell go through. Yeah. Yeah, and like, that's why I've kind of stopped using it because it kind of overkilled sometimes. But so now that you have your consonants, you're gonna make a mark. It can be as fancy as you want or as simple as can be. So I'm just gonna make this real quick. Don't mind me if somebody would be so kind to play the Jeopardy music while I make this hot mess. so, so essentially that's what I came up with. Now, as with all sigil working in chaos magic involving sigils that are pretty much homemade, you have to activate it. Now, there's so many numerous ways that you can go about activating it. You can you can light an incense and then just put the little thing on top of it and pretty much have it be put that way. You can use like an essential or a magical oil mix, preferably something like frankincense, orange peel. Well, it kind of depends on how feisty you want the sigil to be. If you want it to be really sassy and not prone to BS, you can definitely use what I like to use called oregano, because oregano is a anti-BS and anti-everything that is not supposed to exist plant. But in this case, I'm gonna go with. I'm just gonna keep it simple. And I'm just gonna use a little bit of geranium. And if you're wondering why geranium, well, geranium is it's obviously a flower, but geranium has this element that's kind of like that best friend that tells you, look, dump him. I care about you, but dump him. It's like the best friend that tells you if you're being stupid because they care about you. That kind of like that. So you can just put the oil on top of the sigil and then tell it like what it's supposed to do. And when you're activating it, you can. I mean, if you want to prick yourself and be like a vampire and bleed on it, you can do that. You can do the doing having a bit of a nasty moment, and when it's game over, and that feeling. I'm not the best when it comes to talking about sexual stuff. Sorry, but after that moment, you can use that to charge the sigil that way. You can also use right. I have a better idea. You can also use something as simple as this. You can just use a clear quartz if you want to keep it simple, but if you want to really give it a good zut, you can use something like a rudiment quartz. You know, the one that kind of, when you grip it, it goes, oh. And what you do, you can just put it right on top of the sigil and just carefully, not too hard, just like push on it like this onto the sigil, and then just pretty much say in your mind what the intent is, and then just push it through. And I'm starting to get the jolties. Or if you want to do something that's a little bit simplistic, you can just look at it and just say the intention in your head a few times. And then after, when you feel ready, take a big deep breath in, keeping the intention in your head. And then when you're going to exhale, you just completely blow all the air out onto it. And you're probably thinking, wow, you call that blown? Nasty. But when you're having the intention in here, because the mind is air and thoughts are also air, essentially you taking in that big deep breath, your thoughts are now pretty much going to be coming out when you exhale, like so. Because it goes from the mind back down, and then it exits through the mouth because you're exhaling. And that hits the sigil, and that's another way you can charge it. But anyhow, so no, because this is just me personally. All the sigils that I make, well, except this one because it's a dummy used for training purposes. Whenever you have a sigil that's made like this, that's charged and ready to be implemented, for me, I don't like burning any of my symbols because if I ever need it in a pinch, it's just like, okay, where's my notebook with all my horribly drawn symbols? Okay, need one for, and I just pick it out. So say for an example, back to that example, like if say if somebody's throwing a hex onto you, and you have this sigil that's actually purposely meant for taking any kind of baneful working thrown at you, and just completely flips it. Instead of it being malefic and baneful, it for some reason makes your life become prosperous and you just expand in prosperity. Or pretty much wherever it was being swung at, it actually improves instead. So what you would do, of course, is just like, going back into the kiddie pool. What? No, not kiddie pool. That's like going back to when you were like in school and you were drawing on your hands and stuff like that. Yeah, just grab a pen. But then again, please be careful not to put on something that's toxic. I think we're all adults here, but sometimes people think, oh, can I put paint on there? Well, that's not recommended. But if you want to do that, have at it. Just don't come back to me saying, oh, I got lead poisoning because of you. No, it wasn't me. I told you not to do that. But let's not listen to me. And what you would do is simply just put the pretty much just draw the symbol on your hand. And because since it's active and it hasn't been burnt and dismissed, pretty much this symbol. Now, whenever you feel, or whenever somebody just throw a curse at you, with this symbol, if someone throws a curse at me for some odd reason, they're expecting me to be like, he's probably suffering right now. Wait a minute, how come he has won $1 million and has a home now? I cursed him yesterday. What the heck's going on here? Precisely, because this is pretty much only programmed and told if anything malefic comes towards, all it has to do is just completely grab it and then flip it. That's all it does. It doesn't do anything else. Because its only command is to take anything that is any form that has any kind of intention that is degrading, harmful, or banefully intended. No matter what it is, big, small, if something baneful comes towards, it just gets flipped into being something that's going to be supportive and positive. And the thing is that it's not fighting it. It's allowing it to go, and pretty much it's just going to keep going until it's dissipated. Because usually when you're trying to go head to head against something like that, it can take up a lot of your energy. It can waste quite a bit of resources. And if you're going to be using your materials, like, for example, let me see here, like, say if you're going to be using a working that involves, like, magnolia. This is expensive. You don't want to be throwing magnolia oil all over the place. So instead, you can just make a little symbol. And instead of like using your magnolia oil in a working, you can just use your logical mind and think, okay, I'm going to instead target the spell by having a symbol on me that's activated telling you, nah, you're going to just do the opposite instead. And I won't even have to think about it. And pretty much that's like the most easiest way. But now if you want to get really advanced, like actually using the logical deductive reasoning thing. But now you have to keep in mind, this is where it can get a little bit in gray area. This can be a little bit gray area, so I'm letting you know right now. And also bear in mind, at the end of the day, The life that you're living is priority number one, no matter who, what says. You come first, then everybody else. So, say for an example now, you're in your own room, your own dwelling, minding your business. Okay. Then out of nowhere, someone kicks down your door and they come in and they throw a big giant hissy fit. What's your response? And that's a serious question. Do you just be like, oh, look at that? Or, excuse me, dude, you're not from 300. Would you mind picking up that door and get before you know my foot's in between your cheeks? Please? No? Okay. Okay, someone get the gun. Or, call law enforcement and, or just get up and just start swinging and getting him out of your house. Okay, perfect. Scenario number 2. The door gets flung open again, and all of a sudden now there's a poltergeist in your house. There is an astral entity or a spirit that just barged in your home and is having a big giant hissy fit. And what's your response? Do you just go, oh, look at that, I didn't know that existed? Or, really, dude? Just because you don't have a physical body doesn't mean you can hissy fit. Treat it as a human. Treat it as it's a human being, just like any other person. I'm dead serious. Now, with that being said, if you have now a poltergeist, an entity, what have you, causing a hissy fit in your space, what makes it any different than a person doing it besides just a physical body? Not really that much. So, now that we know this entity exists because we're acknowledging its existence, we can now target it and influence it. But now you kind of have to be a little bit on your toesies with this, because sometimes you have to be prepared when going up against something and trying to converse with it and say, why are you doing this? What makes it think you can just barge in like this? Because sometimes some entities are very lost and they're upset because nobody's paying attention to them and they need help. Or you have the kind like Lamashtu that come in and be like, oh, I'm going to destroy everything. Lamashtu, I adore your... I just love your work. What? Mm-hmm. I just love how just so ruined everything is. Oh, well. But that's actually one of the keys of getting rid of her. But the idea is, simply put, you can influence them, you can influence another entity, because at the end of the day, you're in charge of you, and when something tries to intimidate you or try and make you believe that, oh, you're doomed, not really. Just use the first set of things that I asked you. Just answer those questions again. You're going to submit. Well, I remember learning that I'm seeing through my eyes, this is my body, I'm smelling with my nose, I'm having my own thoughts, this is my life, I get to decide what happens, I choose the way things happen to me, and I choose how my life plays out, and I have the final say. So with that being said, I'm going to do what now? Submit? Nah, not feeling it. See? We just go from that point of like, oh, there's something very intimidating at me. Oh, wait a minute. I can respond by just remembering I have the final say what happens with me. Oh, you're cute. No. Exactly. Just like that. I didn't do anything fancy. I didn't pick up a piece of stone. I didn't start swinging at it. But logically, I just went back to my center and remembered, oh, this is my existence. And I decide how it plays out. Oh, that's right. No. You have your own existence, and I have mine. No. Stop trying to influence me. But also, well, I'm thinking about that too. Whenever something is trying to influence you at all, if it's persistent, you can go at it in one of two ways. Someone is obsessed about you, which they are, and they're trying really hard to bring you down. Kind of like how the trolls are. They try so hard just to get at you, but just completely bamboozle it and flip it and slap them in the face with it. Like, say for an example, if there's someone purposely just bothering you and trying to get you to react. Like, a good example is someone who thinks it's a very cute idea just to go at somebody nonstop. And I pray that they stop because I don't want them, to start crying after they be humiliated in front of everybody. But that's none of my business right now. Inside joke for those in Viper Alliance. We all know who that is. Anyway, what you would do is you have a regular troll that's like, insert all the whatever the BS they could say to you. And it's been going on for a while. And then they try it one last time. And then that's when you decide, you know what, here, let me give them attention. You know, I really appreciate how much I mean to you because you're just always responding to me. You're always making me feel like no matter what I do, you're always there. Thank you for being so reliable. But I want you, you should have a life and do something good for you, not for me, because you're giving me all your time when it could be elsewhere. And don't get me wrong, I'm flattered and I appreciate it. But no, it, sorry, I can't give you any more autographs. I already gave you like 50. Now go do something with your life. And no, I'm not gonna go out with you. No, stop being obsessive, dude. But thank you though. You're making me feel important. But stop. Completely just like that. Just completely took the incident of someone trying to chomp at you and bring you down, and just, oh, here, you're so cute. Now go run along. And really, that's gonna put them in a state just like, it makes them stop and think, and when they try and react logically, they can't combat it because what you're doing is you're slapping them in the face with a kind of, you're like backhanding, insulting them in a way that's so simple, but also so passive that they don't know how to react to it because if they try and react and respond to it in a way that's still pushing it, it kind of does make them stop and think, well, wait a minute. Well, he is right. I'm kind of obsessing about him because I'm always trying to figure out when he's streaming and then throwing hissy fits at him, trying to get his attention. Maybe I am a fanboy. You are. By any chance, does anybody have any questions so far? I'm just throwing it out there. And are you guys kind of getting the idea of like what I'm going at? Because if you are, perfect. If not, just let me know. Just be like, I don't get it, kid. Can you walk through it again? Just that way I know it's making sense. And if you're watching the replay, well, skip ahead. Because editing all these live streams would take. Okay, you're on the same page, Elizabeth? Good. Does it make sense though? Does it all make sense? Like, it's taking, like, the biggest thing though is that you're, sheesh, perfect. Because if you can understand at the core, you are pretty much everything else outside of you. Okay, good. Because without you, everything else outside of you doesn't exist unless if you give it the awareness. If you're acknowledging something and giving your awareness to it and acknowledging that it exists, you can influence it and you can pretty much decide how it influences you. But of course, you got to be a little bit logical and practical with this. You can't be going out and doing, illegal stuff and being like, "Oh, I robbed a bank. Nope, the police don't exist." No, that's not being practical. "Oh, you can't arrest me, officer, because you don't exist." That doesn't work. That's kind of taking it to like okay, we're kind of too high up in La La Land. But pretty much, this is actually a really good exercise in a way of handling like intrusive thoughts or thoughts that are trying to like hold you back. Like, that's something I have trouble with most of the time. and having the idea of like, why would anybody want you? Why am I going to try and listen to you? You can't even do anything. You don't have a physical body. Yep, silences it right there. Oh, you think they're going to want you? Well, hey, at least I have a physical body and you don't. You can't do anything. That really makes the mind shut up. And yes, part of the sassy remarks of like actually using this actually did come from love. I mean, she's quite the great teacher on how to respond in a very passive sass mode. I mean, way. My mind is going too fast. Slow down, Aquarius brain. Easy there. But essentially, oh, I don't know. Should I? Yeah, screw it. We're all ladies here. You can only live once. And I don't really teach this to many people at once. So if you're watching the replay, yay! If you're not, well, I don't know how you're knowing this then, but essentially, I'm going to be giving you guys something that you have to be very careful with. But you know what? You're gonna learn. It's better if you know this anyway. Besides, if something has to be done, it has to be done. But I'm going to share a way that you can actually make a kind of working that kind of is unblockable. Well, not really unblockable, but like it completely mitigates and defies protections. It completely just doesn't even acknowledge they exist because it doesn't even go towards it. It kind of goes the backwards way. And I believe Elizabeth knows this one. I think I told her this one in a comment in Viper Lines. And how funny it would be like, oh, somebody's protecting somebody that's being bad? Oh, no, watch this. So, this lovely thing. And I've done this working for myself and my significant other. And you have to be very careful with this. And forewarned, what comes after this, whatever you decide to do, you're the one who has to be afflicted with the results. And yes, this can be done with anything benefic, malefic, good, bad, dreadful, as long as you can actually make a representation of what you're trying to influence. So in a way, this is not really going to work on an astral entity because there's no physical body, technically. And good luck trying to influence that this way. This is probably best only for like people, animals, kind of like a collective of people. If you can actually make like one representation of like one person representing the whole thing. But this is primarily best for one person or one being. So this is essentially what you're going to be doing is you're going to be planting the intention in a puppet. Yes, something so simple. But here's the twist. The puppet is not active until you actually declare it's the person. But here's the thing. Until that puppet is like declared, it doesn't do anything. It has nothing. But the thing is, when you make a petition or a written intent saying, like for example, the thing I did for myself is that no matter what, actually no, I did this for my significant other. This is probably the best one. I put in, regardless of whoever does magic to him, excluding me, which is obviously Hauser, regardless of whomever does any workings to him, excluding me, myself, no matter who does it, it always will have no effect. In other words, if someone tries to do a love spell on him, it won't work. It'll just bounce off and it won't do anything. Because in the puppet of his, that's him, and I've declared it's him, and I've used, let's just say I've used, if you catch the idea. Don't ask me how I got it, I just got it, okay, and it worked. But until that doll became him, And on that petition paper, in like the intent in there, I had written out that any magical workings, regardless of whomever does it, unless if it's me doing the working, they all will pretty much do absolutely nothing and not even affect them. But since that puppet had that intent in there, and also a lot of clear quartz, and some sweet cheesy herbal mix. I can't remember exactly what it was in there, but a lot of rose petal. But still. So then we had the puppet all stuffed with all that, and essentially, after it gets all sewn up, we then baptize it and pretty much do whatever our merry way. Oh, damn low battery. And we do pretty much whatever we deem fit to actually make it be officially whomever. Once that, once like the last thing's being said or the last course of action is done on the doll to actually make it now become officially whomever. Once that last step is done, that doll becomes them and it goes, takes hold just like that. Because the thing is, that intent that we've written out is inside of them. Like that. Because it's them now. The intention has gone into them so fast. And without them even knowing it. Because it's in there and now it's being like circulated through like the bloodstream. Because it's like inside the doll. Internally, it's in them. And it's being circulated through like the bloodstream and the entire, I'm going to try and pronounce this right, like the whole cardiovascular system, the circulatory system, all that is just circulating right through their skin now. Well, not skin, like their whole body. It's now imbued in them. And that's exactly why you can't block it. You can't prevent it because it doesn't go at someone like this. It goes like this instead. Instead of it going out to in, it's going in out. Instead of it going like this, like closing in, it goes outward. And protections can only prevent what's coming outside towards you. Protections can only block like this way. Protections don't block this way. Like if something is inside and is coming out, protections only prevent it from the other side inward. That looks so weird, I'm sorry, but still. You can't protect something if it's coming at you like this. Like if it's coming from this within the same vicinity as you. If you're trying to block something like that, it's not going to work because there's nothing to stop it. But if it's this way, something's coming at you can stop it. If that makes sense. And with that, you had to be careful with this because, like I said, if you have the willpower for this, you can completely just be like, oh, okay, this person jumps, this person becomes sick for the rest of his life. You can make someone be sick for the remainder of their life with that. And I'm not here to tell you what you can't do, just that's how much damage this thing can do. So I would trust that you ladies won't do anything bad, but if you have to get that one, that one bad boss, be taught a lesson to not be a meanie head. Oh well. If he jumps off the cliff, oh well, that's what he gets for being a twat head. And even if you want to be even more creative, you can also, as well, even though this one might take a little bit. Oh no, while I'm thinking about it, in order to break this, like the I'm just call it like that infestation effect. There's only two ways you can really break it. One, pretty much dismiss the doll and pretty much like dismiss it and get all of it out, like make it no longer them and then just completely dismantle it. But then there's the other way, in case you the doll went, because you don't know where that doll went, and if it's not dismissed, it could be down in the lake under the water, and that individual is stuck with it. The only other way is to actually astrally cut off. Yes, your spiritual body, you have to cut off the part where that intention is sitting in. So you know that is extremely painful. And your astral body does not have that part anymore. That's why you gotta be careful with this. And you gotta be aware of what you're doing. But then again, it's my gift to you guys. And don't you think you can be like, what happens if I try it on house here? Don't you do it. You might be thinking you're cute, but stop it. So use that sparingly and carefully. But, bonus points if you are able to get back at that ex that you despise so much. And all of a sudden now they're having a big, oh, woe's me moment. And you're like, that's what you get, you twat head. But that's up to you on how you use that. But that's also kind of that's also another way of bamboozling, because what you're doing, you're defying someone's protections. Instead of like actually throwing something at them, you're instead going inward and then having it explode. So like the best way to explain this, like as soon as this live stream's over, look up on YouTube the Super Smash Brothers either Brawl, and look up Wario or Kirby eating a bomb or swallowing a bomb. Because the idea is that when a bomb gets thrown at them and they're using like a special attack that has their mouth open up, Wario, when he eats a bomb, it explodes inward. And that's kind of like the same idea with this. The intention just goes, explodes in him. It takes hold inside, and the same with Kirby, but then again, what doesn't he eat? So, pretty much, if you even want to be like really like, okay, enough of this cursing BS, you can actually make another intent and make a doll of yourself and put that intention inside and then baptize that doll as you and have the intention say that it makes you completely immune to any kind of curses, generational curses, any kind of occult means that's destructive. It causes no harm to you ever, at all. And that's probably the best protection you can ever get. So no matter what happens, if it's hanky, panky, spanky, danky, not even Merlin, technically, can curse you, because you have like internally, you just have like a anti-curse serum, or like a anti-curse body. I got nothing. I tried to be punny with that one, but I got nothing. But that's just another creative way that you can actually protect yourself. You kind of can't get, cursed if you're naturally immune to it. Because inwardly, you have an intention that's circulating through your whole existence that, oh, look at that. Are you going to curse me? Oh, that's just so cute. Did you know that I can't be cursed? Because, my inner being has no means of being cursed. I have, like, the curse antibody. I got the curse vaccine, so I can't be cursed. So stick it. Go away. No matter what he does, no matter what anybody does, they can't curse you. They can't negatively influence you, no matter what. Does that make sense? Yay, nay. And I really hope they don't be around, please. Because if that makes sense, I think probably that's where I'm going to leave it off anyway, because it can get a little bit crazy with this stuff, but just understand the biggest thing at the core of it all. You decide what happens to you. Beautiful. You decide what happens to you. If someone's going to try and influence you, remember, take it back to square one. Your life, your eyes, you're hearing what you're hearing. You can make the choices for yourself. You decide what happens, and you have the last. This is how it's going to happen. With that in mind, it doesn't matter who, what, where outside of you is like, you gotta do this. No. Go away. What? Yep, nope. Nope. You're cute, old man, but go. Wait a minute. Nope. Move it, geezer. Hey, I'll beat you for that. Oh, you're so cute. Just like that. No matter what somebody does, you're just minding your business like, oh, I'm going to go for that. You can't do that. What? No. Just knowing that I'm the one making the choices, not anybody else. Doesn't matter how long it takes, I'm gonna get that because I said so. It's my final say. And that's the end of that one. No matter what anybody says, my end result's gonna be that because I said so. And if somebody outside of me doesn't like it, well, woe is moi. Oh, woe is I that I failed to make thy be forbidden of their desire. I failed. Oh, good. That's all I gotta say about that. So, and oh crap, my phone's at 5%, so this is where I'm gonna be signing it off. If you have any questions at all, just put them down like in the comments of this video, and I'll be answering any questions or any other ideas regarding this topic altogether. I'm gonna let my phone charge, and then I'll be doing Scorpio and Sagittarius, their card readings, and then I mean, if you guys have a topic that you want me to discuss, please just throw it at me, no matter how crazy it is. Well, make it kind of reasonable, but don't think that I'll be able to explain something like, well, how does doing like a voodoo work? I'm not the best person to ask for that, but I mean, I'll try explaining anything. So that's it for this little tidbit of the art of bamboozling, and I'll see y'all next time. Be good now. Don't be causing too much havoc with that.